Reddit. A massive online platform home to millions of users from anywhere and everywhere across the globe, with the ability to post whatever their mind speaks of, leading to many mysteries being located inside of its confines. There exists hundreds of mysteries and strange subcategories inside and surrounding of Reddit. But recently, I came across something that is just downright unnerving. In Reddit, there exists a page known as r/drugs, whereupon thousands of people talk about many forms of illicit substances. And today's mystery began 8 years ago on this very subreddit, with the original poster narrating some pretty disturbing comments and their journey through a test of a certain drug before seemingly disappearing, leaving many worried and nervous for the user we are going to discuss about today. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the story of FlippnFlopp and their sudden disappearance. April 17th, 2017. Hi guys, I finally got some Datura to try out. I'm free tomorrow and I have the house to myself, so I am really excited to try the effects of this interesting plant. I have around 60 seeds, some dried flowers and leaves. How much should I take for a nice first time trip? I was thinking of crushing up X seeds and making tea with them, drink the tea, and smoke a couple of leaves while the tea is starting to take effect. Would 15 seeds be enough? Sources on the internet tell me a regular dose is around 10 to 20, but I've seen some talk about 30 plus seeds. Edit. Slowly drank the tea in half an hour. Didn't taste too bad, not feeling much yet. I'll check back with you guys within an hour or so. Following the posting of this thread, many of the subreddit's followers advised heavy cautiousness and urged FlippnFlopp to be careful, with some outright saying to completely throw away the drug, with warning of if the OP were to use such a drug, it could have serious, lifelong consequences. Scouring through the post's comments, one commenter by the name of Wrecked M lists their past experience with the drug known as Datura, with the following being the contents of said comment. Oh man, I did this shit in high school and I'm still scarred from it. Well, I bought 2 Datura and Noxia plants from a local greenhouse and ate/smoked both of them over the course of about 2 weeks. I never noticed too many effects initially: dry eyes and mouth, hot flushed skin, rapid heartbeat. But I was 100% in a state of psychosis that whole time, and for about 2 weeks after, I stopped using it. Like someone here said, it is a deliriant, so I wasn't even aware of how totally fucked I was. My friends got increasingly worried about me, and I finally broke down mentally. About a month later, I got diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder and severe panic disorder, with derealization and depersonalization. So far, by the accounts of Wrecked M, I am not getting a good feeling of what Datura is or does, with many others accounting the drug to be negative. Another post on r/drugs by the user Siggyal asks, "What is Datura? And why is it so dangerous?" With a commenter going by the name of Stringer Ball concluding this: "People who have never done psychedelics misunderstand what it means to trip when trying out deliriants such as Datura. That drug basically should never be taken, ever. It is highly toxic and produces what is essentially a psychotic state that can last for multiple days. The experience by most accounts involves being constantly terrified and completely out of touch with reality. It induces threatening and confusing effects that are all the more problematic when you consider that while tripping on this substance, you will likely not remember you have ingested a drug. Trip reports make it sound like you forget what reality is supposed to be. Every report ends the same way, with regret of having tried it in the first place. In addition to the generally unpleasant nature of the experience it produces, it is difficult to dose accurately, and a lethal dose is not far beyond what people ingest for recreational purposes. Even if you don't die, you can experience negative effects beyond the trip. Often, it takes a week for your vision to return to normal, and many people say that they have been psychologically scarred by a datura experience. Feelings of severe anxiety and derealization for months after trying it. Just don't do it. This paragraph was followed by a reply of a now deleted user, which reads the following. There are also reports of people who have suffered from pretty severe depression and/or anxiety after their experience with datura. And yeah, you could accidentally kill yourself as the alkaloid contents vary wildly between different individual plants. One leaf from plant A could produce mild effects, yet one leaf from plant B could kill you, or at least send you to the ER. Upon researching through these Reddit posts, the plant of datura itself piqued my interest, and through searching I managed to find some information about the plant itself. Datura, otherwise known as Jimson weed, is a tall herb plant, which usually is accompanied with prominent white petals. The plant itself is poisonous, and a poisoning can occur when someone drinks the juice of the plant or consumes the seeds, alongside the possible poisoning by drinking a tea made from the leaves. Some of these poisons are atropine, hyoscine, hyoscyamine, and tropane alkaloids. The poison can be found in any and all parts of the plant, and especially in the leaves and seeds. Upon overconsumption of datura, the body can be affected in a huge multitude of ways, and a huge list of potential symptoms solidifies that claim. These are some of the many symptoms to expect when taking it. Dry mouth, blurred vision, red and hot dry skin, nausea and vomiting, fever, thirst, delirium, hallucinations, rapid and irregular pulse, coma, death. Suffice to say, this is not a drug anyone, no matter how daring or experienced you are, should ever take. So regarding all of the symptoms, the highly toxic nature of this plant and all in between, how much datura should FlippnFlopp take? And many give their answers. Exactly 0. Best effects will be achieved by doing none of it, I believe. Throw that fucking hell in the garbage. I hope this is a shit post. Good luck, and report back, please. By obvious, the response was mostly negative, with indications of extreme caution. But regardless of everyone's efforts to deter the OP from using such dangerous substances, in a now deleted update, FlippnFlopp states, I've crushed some seeds, around 15 to 16, in my mortar and put them in a glass of hot water. I've added some lemon juice and sugar to mask the taste. I'll just have to roll my joint with the datura leaves and I'll be set to go. I've decided that I'll be sipping on the tea and slowly smoking the leaves until I feel the effect is strong enough. Through researching, I've realised that some of the updates and posts may have been deleted, so I may not have the full story of updates, but it's important to mention, through the usage of the Wayback Machine, These updates can still be seen, and as FlippnFlopp prepares the Datura, he is wished good luck and given some valuable advice related to the trip he is about to endure. It was now the end of the road, and all that was left to do is wait for an update. April 18th, 2017. At 5:55 AM, we got an update, alright. As one would expect, everyone's warnings were now confirmed, with the countless warnings of the potential hazards being reiterated many times. But it was nice to know that he was still alive and with us, with everyone being worried for the OP, with replies asking them to respond when they are no longer under the drug's influence and are normal again. A user by the name of Pest P mentions they would happily reassure him that everything will be okay, but as is the nature of Datura, it may not be. Which brings us 12 hours later, at 5:58 PM. A post is made on the r/gaming subreddit by a user called Nitrous, with a GIF as its main attachment, which appears to show two mammoths fighting in a totally accurate battle simulator. And I know what you may be thinking, what does this have to do with the whole mystery? Well, there is a familiar face just lurking among the crowd of comments depicting this fight of mammoths. Now, by taking what's written in the comment, it's clear of what FlippnFlopp is trying to say. That being, please, these big dogs are fighting, not okay. Considering the nature of what the GIF is showing and the nature of Datura itself, it may be solid to say that seeing this wouldn't have done the OP a lot of favours. Being on a drug as potentially violent as Datura could spoil major psychological troubles, and now, that's it. FlippnFlopp would never make another post to Reddit. Worry started to build amongst the community as desperate people begged for an update on his whereabouts and condition, but to no avail. With hundreds of comments pleading for an update and over years of time passing, many came to the conclusion that FlippnFlopp may have met a terrible fate. Across Reddit, posts regarding FlippnFlopp to this day still appear, with the latest being just a month ago. But one thing still remains. What happened to FlippnFlopp? Where is he? Now, not much is known about FlippnFlopp, other than he bought Datura and was going to try it for the first time and had the house to himself. Across the internet, searching the name FlippnFlopp doesn't yield much in terms of solid concrete information, as the name FlippnFlopp is insanely numerous and has many variations of spelling. However, poking around profiles and analysing data, I realised something suspicious, to say the least. If you're familiar with Reddit, you will have heard of the term throwaway account passed around. Analysing through FlippnFlopp's channel, the account was created on April 17th, the same day that their only post was made live. Now, this could have been an account used to ask a question on the more private side, as to hide the nature of what is being asked and the content of the substances involved. But gathering this knowledge, it seems to me that the account of FlippnFlopp was made just for this sole reason, to make this post. However, due to this, It discredits the truthfulness and validity of the events that took place that day. I scoured across the internet hoping to find anything related to Datura-based deaths or drug overdoses from the time period of April 17th. But as expected, nothing was found. Now, I know I am lending credence to this whole story being a hoax. However, due to the context of everything that transpired and the way it all went down, I'm inclined to believe that what happened actually did happen. But the only person who can validate this entire story is FlippnFlopp themselves. Now, this would be where I usually end things, as I've covered mostly everything I intended to within this video. But one thing cropped up when I had this planned in my scripts a few months back. A very well-known horror YouTuber known as Nexpo made a video about an analog horror known as Oakburn. Over 8 years later, a revelation was made public. In the comments was following: "Hey Nexpo, I'm writing to let you know that your video about the missing Redditor that took the Datura was about my old friend Scott Herterich. He survived the Datura experience, but was too embarrassed to write people on Reddit back. He was a really interesting guy and was fascinated by plants, especially ones with psychoactive effects. Scott was going for his master's degree in clinical psychology and was doing really well in his classes. He ended up passing in September 2018, so I feel like your video helped to immortalize him a little bit. Thank you. Scott Herterich, the man supposedly behind the entire account that is FlippnFlopp. Now, I know it may be a huge stretch to claim this as fact, as the replies are mixed with showing love and commemoration for Scott, with the latter doubting the truth of the entire comment and claim. However, upon searching the name of Scott Herterich, we find obituaries dating his death as of September 2nd, 2018. It's been stated by Dan that he didn't die to a Datura overdose. However, it was drug related. It took him weeks to mentally recover from the Datura experience, however. And from this point on, that's all we know. Whilst it isn't solid 100% irrefutable evidence that Scott was FlippnFlopp, if it's true, it's nice to know that he didn't survive his Datura trip, but deeply saddening that he passed unfortunately sometime after it took place. To anyone who knew Scott and is potentially watching, you have my sincere condolences, and may his soul rest in peace. And that about wraps up this video. If you enjoyed it at any point, please leave a comment and a like, as it really does help me in the algorithm. As my recent summer video seemingly got buried after the months of effort that I put into it. And I know shit like that happens on YouTube, but it can be very disheartening. So if you did enjoy this and stuck around to the end, thank you, sincerely. I appreciate you for that, more than words can say. And if you want to see more, please do subscribe, as there will be more coming in the short future. I strive to upload monthly to bi-monthly with these documentaries, but the researching and editing can be a little time consuming, as I am a one-man team. But with everything out of the way, I wish you all a good night. I shall see you all in the next one.